Hello, I'm Spin Pixie, and I'm Thursday's hostess for the Biophilic Alternative. And today I'm going to be talking about working Yesod. Now, if you remember, I've been doing some videos. I had done a couple videos about the Tree of Life, and then my last video was on working the Malkuth. And in this one, for working Yesod, I'm getting a little more in depth with this one because Yesod is a big ol' hunk of shadow work. And Yesod is it's a very hard station to work through. So, like I said, I would do videos as I work the station. But the fact of the matter is that Yesod is never going to be a station we're quite completed with. We're always going to have to go back and, well, really none of these are. We always have to go back and revisit the different stations of the Tree of Life because we all take different journeys, and then from one path we veer to another path, and so on and so forth. So it's very important that you realize that you have to go back and revisit these things. So today I'm talking about Yesod, and basically I'm also talking about shadow work. Now, just to give a quick, brief description for those of you who might be new and tuning in, of what shadow work is. Shadow work is taking a good, long look to at yourself. No masks, no guard, just letting everything down, letting all your armor fall, and finding where your shortcomings are, finding what those things are, those things that need to be healed, those things that need to be unmasked and worked through. Shadow work hurts sometimes. Shadow work is hard sometimes. Shadow work is unpleasant sometimes. Most times, because it's calling to the carpet, so to speak, all of the flaws in us that prevent us from living our authentic lives and being our authentic selves. So, Yesod is a big shadow work station, and I'm going to go ahead and read from my notes the station of Yesod and its properties. So, for those of you who may be new or not familiar with the station of the Tree of Life, living Yesod to its fullest, according to Dr. Shoemaker of Speech in the Silence podcast, living Yesod in its fullest is when you're full of vitality, virility, fertility, and you have an unblocked flow of energy, where you have your unconscious contents in the mind are not unduly repressed. The unconscious and conscious link are not hindered. You are not stuffing down feelings or emotions, or refusing to be accountable, projecting yourself, or your shadow self, I should say, to the outside world. You are self-aware of unconscious patterns. Now, when you are living in the shadow self, in the shadow part of Yesod, you can have sexual obsession or aggression, or be facing sterility or sexual dryness, and express projection of unconscious contents, i.e., your shadow self, projecting all your shadow flaws to the outside world. You're mismanaging your life force and have an energy depletion. Being codependent, this may also be a dependency on substances or people for having emotional dependency. So basically, it's the station of shadow work, like I've said. Now, this is called me to task on a lot of things. So I've been doing a lot of divination. This is not one of those things where you can ask yourself simple questions and give yourself simple answers, because there are no simple answers in this. This is really taking a good hard look at yourself and how you are living in your day-to-day life. And I've had a lot of good divination sessions that have left me somewhat puzzled at the end. But I realized last night that it's because I haven't been willing to see. I can read for myself normally just fine. But lately I've been getting mixed messages and mixed signals, and I'm usually not this poor at divination. But I decided that it was because I was not ready to see. I wasn't ready to really allow myself to be taken to task for the things that I still need to work on. And I don't know what it was about last night, but last night was the night that I finally had the breakthrough. And there are a lot of things that I'm going to say about myself that many people, whether they're willing to face it or not, can probably relate to. But I'm speaking from my own personal experience and my own personal dealings or necessity, I guess, what I need to do. And I got taken to task by my divination because I asked what is blocking me? What do I need to do to live my authentic life, be my authentic self? And I got answers that I knew, but the fact that they were just showing up in the cards, it was just like, wow, I guess that's really true. And right now, what's going on in the planets is that I think I've talked to a few people, and there are a lot of people feeling like they've just been taken to task for not putting in the work that they need to put in to live their authentic lives and have themselves fully self-expressed. So I know I'm no different in this. So some of the things that I was divinely made aware of is that I need to put in more work on the things that will make my life work. And a lot of it has to do with commitments and follow through and making excuses. A lot of it has to do with not being open, not being receptive to the messages that are trying to come my way, and blocking myself off from that energy when there's no reason for me to be doing that. And I believe, I haven't gotten a chance to see it, but I know that Eva did a video on commitments this week. So I know that it's in the air. And we are being called to task by the planets for not doing the things that we need to be doing to make our lives work. So in my divination, I was just saddened because the picture of me that was laid out for me by my cards, by my own hand, was not a pretty one. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And some of these things were representative of Yesod, especially where it comes to the unconscious and the conscious link being hindered. And I don't, I don't know. I think that a lot of people might unawarely project their shadow selves, and I know that I do it, but I also see it, in people, not just in, the YouTube community, but in the everyday. Because unless we're constantly concentrating on who our shadow selves are, we're not going to be aware of the patterns that we are displaying. And here's one thing that I've noticed. I've noticed, I've at least gotten to the point where I notice the patterns of behavior, both in myself and in groups of people, that we seem to be doing okay for a little while. And then, I don't know if we get bored, or if we're trying to spice things up, but whatever we're doing, it leads to drama, depression, frustration, falling out, falling back in later on, and it just leads to a whole circle of things that we don't want in our lives. And like I said, and I'll say it again, I'll say it until the sky falls, I know that I'm guilty of this. Because, especially more so in my everyday life than I think in my dealings with my friends or social media, because I have control over what I project in that area. And in my personal life, I just live day to day. So, in my day to day, it's very easy to project shadow selves, because you take the people that you're around for granted. Whether they're friends or colleagues or family, you take it for granted that they're just going to be there. And recently, I've come to the experience that I know I've projected a shadow self to somebody I thought would always be there, and they were not. And as a matter of fact, I knew that I was projecting my shadow self, but I did nothing to stop it, because to some point, to some degree, I thought this person deserved it. But if I was hurting them, I was hurting me too, and I didn't realize it. So, I think that doing this shadow work and doing this, and allowing myself to really see myself, it helps to really see where I'm falling short. Because I think we all have an idea, I know I do, of who we are. Because we all aspire to be that perfect version of ourselves. But when you find that your most imperfect self is, in some beautifully printed cards laying on your table, then you realize that maybe you need to stop living in your ideal and start living in the reality of who you are being. And who you're being may not be who you are. It's just who you're being. I would like to think that who I've been being is who I'm being and who I'm not. Generally. So, in this station, I've done a lot of divination. And I've done, gone to my altar, done the spell works that needed to be done, and there's always going to be work to be doing. Shadow work is not something that happens once, at least in my path. It's not something that happens once in a while. It's not something I can schedule. It's not... Shadow work, when you're really doing shadow work, in my path anyway, it hits you. It just hits you. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't expect to sit here and think about why, I don't know, like bikes. I don't like going bike riding. I didn't expect to have this experience as to, I don't know, not being able to afford a bike when I was young, but apparently I'm gonna work through this shadow work today, because that's just what's falling at my lap. You can't not have time for shadow work. At least that's how I live. When something comes up, I have to work through it. But somewhere along the way, I decided that these are things that I'm not going to work through. And the cool thing about it is that one of the things that I need to do shadow work on simply involves me having more fun. And I can dig that. But, I mean, some of the other stuff is just, shadow work is brutal sometimes. And I think, I've heard it said by a couple of astrologers, but right now what we're going through is a time where if you don't make changes, then your masks, your armor, your disguise is going to be ripped away. And you're going to be shown who you are. And made to deal with the shadow self. And it's scary to actually do this video and to tell you all that the person that I've been being is not the best version of myself. But I think that there's power in talking about it and being able to admit when we're not the best versions of ourselves. Because then we can take the steps to become better versions of ourselves. When we are living as our authentic selves and living lives that are authentic to who we are, then things just flow. Because I know who I am when I'm my authentic self. And I know who I am when I'm living an authentic life. Because things flow together so much easier. Everything sort of just fits and it just is. And I know that I'm different. It's weird because even though I'm not necessarily happy with myself right now, because of the things that I've been neglecting to take care of, I like shadow work. Because to me, when I'm doing my best magic is when I'm completely balanced and whole and feeling like I am unmasked in front of my gods and goddesses. I talked in my Honor Yourself video about how sometimes we need to get in there and scrub the tunnels that our energy flows through. Every once in a while we need to do some maintenance. It's not just a matter of personal hygiene, it's a matter of magical hygiene. It's a matter of getting in there and finding out where that grit and that grime is that gunks up the connection between you, your unconscious and your conscious, between you and the ether, between you and your deities. And you need to chisel that out, and the way that we do it is shadow work. And right now I got the surgical mask or the dusk mask on, and my hair in a net, and I got my scrub brush and my cleaning products, and I'm going to work. So you might be wondering if you're new or if you don't generally do shadow work, how you might go about it. Well, a lot of it is meditation. A lot of it is reflection. Journaling is a good thing to do. Divination is a great thing to do, because divination is going to lead you. If you can honestly set aside your ego and read for yourself, divination is going to lead you down the path that you need to be taking. And it may not reveal all the answers, but divination is pretty good about helping you out with the path that you're on and showing you where the pitfalls are going to be, or what you might be stuck in. magic, for clarity, for unblocking communication, whether it be with you and your deities, or you, your conscious and subconscious links, opening those up, unblocking communication to spirit, or source, or whatever works for you. Opening the door to truth and allowing truth to come in. If you're somebody who's really not comfortable with yourself, somebody who hides themselves from themselves, then this might be where you need to start. Because when we don't take a really good, hard look at ourselves, we don't realize who we're becoming. And that's the other thing I've noticed too. When I am projecting my shadow self, things tend to fall away. My energy definitely tends to fall away. My lust for life and wanting to do things and get out there and be something and create anything more than what I already have to do, like for work. It's like when I don't have a proper alignment, and when I'm not being authentic, anything other than going to work, I don't want to do anything else. I'm just done. I go to work, come home, that's it. I don't have the will to create. I don't have the zeal to go out and to do anything. Because I'm just fine with living the status quo. Go to work, come home, eat, sleep, do the chores. Go to work, come home, eat, sleep, do the chores. Because it keeps your life going. But and then things start to fall away. You have less energy, less desire to do magic, less desire to make your life worth living. And I haven't quite gotten there yet. Mostly what I've gotten is kind of the I don't wannas, which starts the depletion of energy, which starts the downhill spiral. Starting to do my shadow work has really kept it from progressing. And I'm doing, the work to keep the flow of energy going properly to really, and the way that I'm doing it is a lot of meditation. I wish I had a drum. I don't have a drum. Do you know what I'm doing? I have a red metal can. I have a red metal can that it's like a gift, one of those things you get in a gift basket. But I like the sound of it. It's close enough to a drum for me. So I've been using that as a drum. Or I have a nice big pot that's like a soup pot. Same thing. I like the sound of it. So I've been using it as a drum. And just allowing myself to meditate while drumming. Because it helps me think. It helps me connect. Whether it be with spirit or inner self, or, whatever, it just helps me connect. It helps unblock whatever is blocked. You just gotta get creative with it. And as far as being self-aware, I think I'm always somebody who lives in trying to be self-aware. And a lot of it has to do with just me being Virgo and being introspective and introverted and just always concentrating on my inner self. So I'm finding that things that bring me peace and allow me to reflect and to meditate are helping in this section. Things that allow me to see where I am, like divination and talking to my deities, that helps me to see where I am. Things like doing magic, making magic, that helps me to keep the channels open between my conscious and subconscious. Just whatever helps you connect, whatever helps you disarm, whatever helps you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Be vulnerable to yourself. Be vulnerable to your deities, and just expose yourself and really take a look at who you're being. Because as we take off each layer, we see it for what it is. You know, are you lazy, making excuses, double booking yourself with commitments, not taking any commitments at all because you just want to sit at home? Are you too introverted, too extroverted? Are you drinking more, smoking more? Are you taking drugs? Have you found comfort in taking drugs? All these layers, if we allow them to come off, it's like taking off an article of clothing and throwing it on the floor. You see it fall, and you know what it is. You know, that's a shirt, that's a skirt, that's a pair of socks. You know, it is what it is, and you see it. And when you stand, and the more layers you take off, you stand around with all these layers surrounding you, and you see the person that you're being. And if you find that that's farther than you thought from the person that you think you are, then maybe you can up the shadow work and make it, you know, happen more than every so often if you're only doing shadow work every so often. Or if you're doing it once a month, maybe try, you know, twice a month or once every week or what have you. I'm finding that even though I think I do shadow work quite regularly, I guess I'm really not doing it as regularly as I thought. And I don't get disappointed in myself very often. But as I watched each layer fall, I kind of just shook my head a little more at myself. And the idea behind shadow work is not to pass judgment, but it's to be held accountable, so hold yourself accountable for the things that you need to fix. So that's pretty much my talk on Yesod, and I'm going to try not to edit this that much because I really wanted to be as frank and as candid as I could. Because shadow work is not something that I've heard in my watching videos on YouTube. Shadow work is not something that I see talked about a whole lot, except for people say, well, I do shadow work, or I did some shadow work. So I'm going to try and leave this up as close to its natural form as I can, because I don't mind being this candid in this particular phase, because it's all stuff I'm already working on and working through. And it's probably stuff I'll have to work through again and again and again until it's done. Because, not to say that I would fall back into the same habit, but just to reinforce the work I've done before. It never hurts. So that's pretty much my talk on Yesod. So until next time, have a wonderful week and many blessings. Bye-bye.